be October 22nd, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have the boys soccer coach for the Stonington program. His name, Paul DeCastro. Paul, it's great to have you on, man.
Thanks for having me. Can't wait to talk some soccer.
Oh, nothing's better than talking, a little bit of soccer. I'm a former soccer player. You're a former soccer player now, a head coach who has built a fine program with Stonington. And we're going to hit on a lot of stuff. But first and foremost, let's talk about yourself a little bit. Kind of give me your background and what led you into coaching.
Grew up in Stonington. My dad was from Portugal. Just kind of always watched Portuguese national team and kind of had that passion playing as a young kid, and played in Stonington, and I actually went on to play at UVM, University of Vermont. Played a little bit after that, and just started teaching and wanted to try to help kids get better at soccer and try to help them get to the next level and be good people in the community. So that's sort of, I'm a teacher, and I love coaching soccer too.
Now, when you were going through the ranks, obviously when you played in high school, you went to college, you kind of did everything. Do you feel like what part did you feel like you kind of had as far as the soccer game itself? At what level did you feel like things started to slow down for you? Because I've talked to various coaches who play their particular sport, and they told me, some have told me college is when things slow down. And I said, wait, but you were great in high school. They're like, yeah, but that was my talent. The actual ability of me playing the sport, it kind of lagged, but because I was more talented than the players I played against or with, that kind of helped me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think at the high school level, there's a lot of great players who can kind of take over the game and dominate. But I would say for me personally, when I got to college, I think, hard work and effort, because everybody's fast and everybody's got a lot of skill. So I think it was a lot of the extra work that you kind of put in behind the scenes, and a lot of it's mental. And if you really want it, I think that was sort of the difference for me. I felt like I was pretty mentally tough, and I put the work in, and I think it sort of paid off.
Now, when you played at Vermont, did you have an opportunity to get scouted to maybe play at the next level, or was there ever a chance for that?
Probably not. No, I wasn't really at that level to play like at MLS or anything like that. I had a pretty good career, scored some goals, and I played on some good teams, but not to the level where I would, be at the MLS or anything like that.
So, what part or when did it kind of hit you that, okay, my soccer career as far as a player is coming to an end, but I don't want it to end as far as being in the soccer planet itself. I want to keep going. I want to coach. When did that start when did that come to you?
Yeah, I think once I left Vermont, I still played. I played in some teams, Rhode Island Stingrays, and I stayed pretty involved. But I think when I had a child, I had my son, and you kind of start having him play, and you kind of start seeing the friends he makes, and that's when I started kind of realizing that I had to put a plan in place. And like I said, when you win one game, that's kind of tough, and you kind of start really trying to focus on the youth program and working with kids that are 8, 9, 10 years old, so that way they can learn a lot of the important skills they need to when they get to high school. Because a lot of times when kids get to high school, it's really hard to teach them when they're 14 and 15 years old. It's really hard.
So
Um,
before,
so I think that was kind of my goal, was to kind of start focusing on the youth program, and a lot of these kids have been playing together now for 6, 7, 8 years, and it makes a big difference.
so did you coach at other places before you went to Southington, or or not Southington, Stonington, pardon me, or was Stonington the first place for you?
I coached girls soccer at Stonington. I was a JV coach, and I coached girls. But yeah, Stonington's the only place I really coached, and I coached at the high school. And while I was coaching for Stonington, I also coached youth soccer. So I was kind of doing both, with sort of the eyes on the prize down the road. If I got to spend a lot of time with these kids when they were younger.
So, take me into the opportunity that you had when you saw that there was a job opening for the boys soccer program. Kind of what was that like? I'm sure your eyes kind of went up and were like, "Oh, I'm a former player. Let's see if I maybe have an opportunity. Let me throw my name out there and see what happens."
Sure. Yeah. And I had help previously. I was sort of an assistant coach, and a good friend of mine, Pat McCarney, was the head coach. So I was helping him out. So I had some experience coaching. I was just the assistant, and then the job did come available, and I did apply, and I got the job. So I was really excited, and it's sort of something that you played there. That's where you grew up, and you want to try to build something, and obviously things have gone well the last couple of years. So it's a lot of fun. It really is.
When you first took over the program, I know various coaches, some take over a program when it's kind of on the downside and you have to rebuild it. Others, it's already it's basically well done. It's completely baked. You just have to make sure you don't overbake it. Now for you, how was it when you first took over the program?
That's actually a really good question. We actually had a really good team my first year. I actually had a kid that went to University of Hartford, Kevin Lewis. He played Division 1. I had my assistant coach right now is Mario Costa. He actually played at Southern Connecticut. So my first year, I inherited a really, really good team, and we had some success. Um, I think we actually drew Ellington in the first round, and they had like an undefeated season that year. They went like 20-0. So I mean, we had a good year. We just drew a terrible team in the first round that just kind of like cruised through everybody. Um, but after that first year, it was a pretty quick drop off, and we kind of struggled there for a few years. And like I said, there was definitely a maybe a 3-win season, maybe a 1-win season. So there were definitely some tougher times. But the first year, I did have some really good players.
Now, I can only imagine, why the drop off as far as the lack of wins and, you could throw out talent and maybe other things too. But for you, and I'm sure I know you won a lot at Stonington when you played, and I know that winning has now become part of the culture now. But for you, how tough was it going through 1 win, 3 wins, those kind of the lack of winning? I almost felt like you did more coaching. I'm sure you do a lot of coaching now, but when you have the 1 to 3 wins, you're really
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah, and again, I think it really comes down to the youth program. I mean, if you have, 5 or 6 kids come in who've never played before, it really makes it difficult to win. So to me, it's really trying to connect with the youth program and work with to develop those kids. But yeah, I mean, when you have a 1-win team and a three win team, you're really trying to figure out ways to just compete against those better teams. Whether you play a more defensive formation or but it's definitely more challenging, I think. And now it's more about trying to motivate and keeping the kids sharp and letting them know that there's other teams out there that are kind of gunning for you.
Do you think that, when you were going through the 3 wins and the 1 wins and so on and so forth, do you feel like in some ways that kind of helped build what is now a very strong program? Only because it's one thing to win only 3 games, but you compete in every game. You're doing things for the most part well. It's just that the talent is not there, but you're doing everything technically sound. Do you feel like that kind of helped along the way?
I think so. I think when you go for me personally, when you go through something like that, it kind of motivates you, and you really want to coach up your kids, and you really want to try to prepare as best you can. So, hopefully you don't have that 1-win season. But yeah, I think there's a lot of that where ultimately it comes down to the kids and how motivated they are, and if they want to put the time in and work, I think that's sort of the key. And when you have players that are year-round players that really care and are really passionate, that's the difference. And I think back in those days, I only had players that probably played, 3 or 4 months a year, and then they go do something different. So I think that's a lot of it is the mentality of the player and the work they want to put in during the season, but also when it's not the season.
What year do you feel like things started to turn around? And it could be either wins or it could be maybe like you mentioned, the attitude of players, because I feel like there had to be either your 5th year coaching, 6th year, 6 year coaching, something like that, where things really started to tick upwards as we've seen now with what Stonington is doing.
I would say it was probably like my ninth or 10th year. We had the ECC tournament, and we were the 9 seed in the tournament. And I believe we played Fitch in the first round, and it was 0-0, and we won in PKs. And then I believe we went to the finals and lost to a really good team in the ECC final. And then the next year, we actually won the ECC final. So that's when I think we kind of started kind of turning the table a little bit and realizing, okay, we're a pretty decent team. And that's when I think the kids really started buying in and realizing that we were a good team that could compete with a lot of other good teams in the state. Was so I would say probably 4 to 5 years ago.
That's what I was thinking it was like year 4 or year 5, but to have it be year 9, year 10, have it be as recent as it is, that's pretty astounding only because when you think about how much success that the program has had, thinking that I thought it was success over 10, 12 years, but it's like this is something that's now really starting to become something and could be, I don't know if you watch football, but like the Patriots where they were successful for 20 years, this is
Right.
starting to become not just a 1 or maybe a 4-year class, in high school where every class goes through and then you have a little bit of a downturn. This is
Sure.
starting to be sustainable.
Yeah, we're doing well. I mean, again, I keep saying it. It really comes down to the youth program, and I have a great staff. I have a lot of guys that care, and we try to spend some time and develop those younger kids. So we're going to do our best to keep it going. But like it's never perfect, and it kind of comes and goes, ebbs and flows, and we're hopeful we can keep it going. But it's hard. It's hard to maintain for a 10-year or 15-year cycle. But we're on a pretty good run right now for 4 to 5 years, and hopefully we can keep it going.
The youth program to me, I think, is of the utmost importance because of almost all the coaches I've talked to from basketball, baseball, football, especially because you got to, and Sonia, who's up in the NVL for, the teams I broadcast for, they
Sure.
run the same wishbone, kind of offense. And it's something you have to basically implement into their brains when they're 5 years old. Otherwise, they mess it up when they're older. But I think to have the youth programs to kind of teach them this is how things are done, it helps prepare them and make it easier for you and your staff. So it's less of the technical stuff you're coaching and you can focus more on the fine tuning parts. Am I wrong with that?
No, absolutely. And I think, a lot of the guys right now I pretty much have all juniors and seniors on varsity. We have a couple sophomores that contribute. Our goalie's a sophomore, but the whole starting lineup are juniors and seniors, and a lot of sophomores don't see time. So when you have a season group like that, that is all upperclassmen that have been playing together a lot, that have kind of been through a lot of battles, it's certainly a big advantage. And like you said, you kind of talked about playing a lot of those games together and having that history together. It really is nice. And physically, a junior or senior, they're more developed. And when you can put juniors and seniors out there, I think it puts you at an advantage.
Having that cohesion and having the relationship in the games and I've always kind of viewed where it's good to have, when I see a particular sport and I see this player's had 150 snaps or this player's had this amount of innings, or for soccer, when you mentioned the games and the minutes played, that's great to have. But I think to kind of quantify that, you have to look at how are those minutes being distributed. And I
Sure.
think to have older players, and that kind of gets forgotten. And I don't know if you're big into analytics, but I feel like when you look at the juniors and seniors for the high school level, I think to judge their heartbeat, what they are as far as the pressure moments, have they been through those moments? What are they going through? That's something that can't be judged in a stat. And I think for you to have juniors and seniors and even having the sophomores there, it kind of helps show them, hey, this is how it's done. And this is what you can learn from. So that way, the sophomores next year, who now will be juniors, they can be prepared and ready to play.
Absolutely. And I think, when we won the final last year, I think we had five sophomores start the game. So those five sophomores are back. And, when you kind of go through that experience, you look up and you see that many people in the stands, and, it's a great moment that those kids will never forget. So to have, I think we returned seven players from that state championship team. So, to bring that back, that kind of experience. And at the end of the day, I tell those guys, you want to teach these freshmen, how to train and how to prepare for games, and kind of what the culture is about. So I think, that's really important, is to have those older guys who handle themselves the right way. So that way the younger kids are learning, and, you kind of talk about that tradition. And I think that's important, because you maybe have some kids who come in who don't really know how to handle themselves, but they quickly see the upperclassmen, and they're like, wow, this is what I'm supposed to do. And if I want to make it around here, here are the expectations. And when I don't have to say it and the upperclassmen show the players how it's done, that's a powerful tool.
No, I really want to talk about the state championship last year as far as winning in Class M. And Class M, I think, gets kind of underlooked. I don't know if that's the right word, maybe overlooked, depending on how you view it. But I think there's a lot of talented teams, yours being one of them, and especially kind of what you were doing as far as to get to the final. I mean, I kind of went back and just looked at the scores. A 5-0 win because the first round you had a bye. You had a 5-0 win, a 3-0 win, a 4-0 win. And I kind of said to myself, did they like have any like did they have any sort of time where they felt like they sweat? And I was like, okay, well, they sweat in the final against Ellington, who you mentioned and I knew before about how they're very, very good. And that, as we saw in the score, a 1-0 win, but still very hard fought
Sure.
game.
Yeah, I mean, Roy's been coaching at Ellington for a long time, and he's got a lot more state titles than I do. So, Ellington's had a lot of great teams, and Roy's a great coach. So I knew that they would be a really tough team. But I think that bye helped. And obviously we got a pretty good draw. Um, but I mean, we had some really focused players. I mean, I had a really great senior class. Ty Fidrich was one of our best players. He's at UConn right now. He broke all types of school records with goals and assists. I think he had the most points in a season. I don't even know what his numbers were, but they were like video game numbers. So he had a lot of goals and assists. And he went on to UConn, so he was a big time player. I had another kid named Reese Hammond. He's Division One. He's running at Cornell. Highly recruited runner. So I mean that tells you the type of athlete he is. I had another kid, Will Canella, great center back for us. Our goalkeeper was Peter Fernholtz. Those four guys were my captains and sort of the backbone of the team. And then they had some other good players around them. We had a sophomore named Sammy Maltaldo. He scored 33 goals as a sophomore. Um,
Whoa.
so yeah, he's got 15. He's got 15 goals in 7 games so far. So yeah, we had a good team last year. So I mean, the draw was a good draw, but we got to Plainville in the semi, and Plainville plays in the CCC, and we knew that they had a good team. They had Pat. Pat's one of the best players in the state, no doubt about it. You got to know where he is at all times. They had some other really good players on the field, and Tim's a great coach for Plainville. And so we knew the Plainville game in the semi was going to be a big time game, and we felt if we could get through that game, that would build a lot of confidence to get to the final. So they got us 2 years ago, and it felt good to get them last year. So we were sort of hoping to have the rematch this year, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen.
And again, kind of going back to the program itself and having the hyper focus, and I've heard you mention that many times. So I kind of want to hit on that because when there's a lot of winning going around, and as we know, it's hard in the pros, it's hard in college from what I've seen broadcast in college games. And I can only imagine the high school level because you have a lot of kids who are on social media, on Instagram. They see what everybody is saying. They can kind of get full of themselves, and their head gets extremely large where they can't even walk. So for you, how did you keep them? And I'm sure you're going to mention the seniors because they seem like they were very, very focused and determined. But how did you keep everybody on the same page and in one lane?
Yeah, and I think we really wanted it 2 years ago, and it didn't work out. And the Plainville game was a tough loss. And looking back, it's not as bad when you lose to the eventual champion, Plainville, and that was a great story. And they were a great team. But I think at the end of the day, sometimes when you lose, you can kind of build motivation, and I think that was important to us, that we knew when we came back the next year that that was something we really wanted, and getting to the final was sort of the goal. And I think that at the end of the day, if we didn't get to the final, it would have been a disappointment. And we just kind of said, this is our goal, and we got to get there. And we were lucky enough to get there. And it was a great game against Ellington. It really could have gone either way. And it was funny, a kid that wasn't starting during the season, had tore his ACL the year before, scores the goal in the championship game on a header to win it. So it was a lot of great stories from that day against Ellington. So, but yeah, I would say some of the heartache from the year before really toughened our kids, and they kind of got together and said, guys, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. And I didn't think there was a lot I had to say. That the leadership really was great, and they kind of set the tone, and they knew what they wanted to do.
Capping off 2019 in a championship, have high aspirations for 2020, and then COVID happens. And then the questions of a season, a no season comes out. There will be a season, but there's going to be some adjustments. There's certain things that can't be done on the pitch because of COVID related issues, and they want to make sure that everybody is safe. So for you, going through this entire process, and again, I hope everything is okay with your family and everyone is safe and healthy. But kind of going and looking at the soccer program and the players itself, how difficult was it for you kind of a wondering about if there's going to be a season first off, and then second, it's okay, now I need to adjust on how even we play a little bit because of the new rules.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when you start the season and you only can train in groups of 10, like you put your 10 best players together, there's so many things that, you're like, I've never been through this before. Like, what do you do? Like you're trying to figure out what to do at practice, so there's a lot of things that I've never been through before. And, you try to make the best of it. But, at the end of the day, it's a trying time for the kids. And, I think our goal, we wanted to see if we could defend the title. And, I feel bad for the seniors that they're not going to get that chance. But at the end of the day, we also have to be fortunate that we're playing, because if you look at our schedule, there are a lot of teams that have been shut down, and we've gotten to play 7 games so far. And there's some teams that have only played one or two. Um, so I think that's sort of been our kind of our discussions a lot, like, let's be positive. Let's take every day that we can get. Let's come out here. Let's try to get better. Let's try to become a better team every day, and try to stay positive. But, I think at the end of the day, it is sort of disappointing that, we're not going to have that state tournament, and we're not going to be able to try to defend that title. And that's tough. But, again, I think you still have to try to take the positive as well.
Another thing too that I would think that would be kind of difficult in some senses, because you mentioned about the teams that haven't even played many games, even up to seven. Some have played one, some have played two, some have played maybe a little bit more. But for you, how difficult is it that you could wake up tomorrow and three kids test positive on your team, or kids end up going down left and right, and now it becomes, well, we're not going to play, or there's various issues as well. I think kind of looking at this, and again going back to how people are saying even in pro sports, oh well, the Lakers, their championship has an asterisk because it's a COVID season. But I think it's more admirable, and I think the teams deserve it more, yours being one, and just teams that are even playing in general, because you got to think about it. You as a coach, you're going through every day, is someone going to test positive? And then it's going through practices, because like you said, nobody has ever gone through this before. This is a first for everybody.
Sure. Yeah, and it's hard. And like, we actually, we spend a lot of time talking about making good decisions on and off the field, always wearing your mask, when you go out to, when you go out to eat, try to eat outside, try to stay away from large groups. I'm like, if you test positive, we're shut down for 2 weeks and our season's over. So, it's part, a lot of soccer, but, there are a lot of times we're sort of talking about, listen, don't take chances where, you're going to put yourself in jeopardy of testing positive. So I think that, I've never done that before. Like, I'm talking to them about decisions they make about wearing masks and where they go, and just trying to help them make good decisions. So that way everybody's safe, and we can continue to practice, and we can continue to play games. Because some of our opponents, it's really not their fault, because they're people in their school that have tested positive, and then that school gets shut down, and we're not able to play them. So our school has been pretty fortunate, and we've done pretty well. And I think it's sort of unlucky to those other schools that they have cases in their school, and then their soccer teams are shut down, unfortunately.
No, it's a shame to see, even if there's not a kid on the program of the particular sport where they shut down, or it's someone else who may not even play sports, but because the school has to shut down, it creates a whole lot of chaos. And as you mentioned, and we've talked about, schools being able to play one, two, 3 games, and that's it, no more. So
Yeah.
to be able to see, the schools that are playing kind of, and again, this goes back to, I think, what this is why coaches deserve a lot of credit, is because they're making sure that their players are doing the right thing and the protocols are being implemented and that they're staying strict to them. And I think some people kind of, and I've read some tweets about, oh, these coaches just want their kids to play. That's all they care about is the wins, the losses, and whatever. But I think people need to stop using this and start using this a little bit more,
Sure.
because these coaches in Connecticut, you being one, and others who I've had on this show before in the past, are doing a lot of work to make sure that these kids from freshman to senior have a season that they've worked so hard leading up.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's not fun to wear the mask all the time, and they prefer not to wear it, but they know, like, I'm like, guys, anytime you get an opportunity during a break, anything you do, put that mask on, and they think they've done a really good job in school. I hear the kids, they're doing great. They keep the mask on at all times, and we're trying our best to do things where we're not in big groups, and we try to keep some space between us. So it's not a typical year, but I think you have to sacrifice a little bit, and you have to have that discipline if you want to keep practicing and keep playing games. So we've got 7 games in so far, and hopefully we can get another 7 or 8 in if things work out as planned.
And you're 6-1 this season. And Paul, it's great to be able to have you on. I wish you nothing but the best of luck the rest of the way. Hopefully, you can finish your season and have the seniors be sent off in a positive way. And like I've mentioned many times already on this show, you're doing a lot for Stonington. You're doing a lot for the program, and it's very admirable to be able to see and read about it as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate talking to you. It was a lot of fun, and love to do it again.
That'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm on a journey to find them all. Have a good one, everybody, and be safe.